I'd like to invite everyone to stand, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. All right, welcome everyone to the January 21st meeting. Minutes of the January 7th meeting, do we have a motion to approve? Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Financial report and payment of the bills. We have a motion to approve the financial report. Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Tyler, I don't see Tyler. Well, I just wanted to, let, the finance department know I really love the, layout of the, financial report. Hopefully, this will be, as we move forward, this will be what we'll have. This is great. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries. All right, we have a presentation today. James, are you ready?
Absolutely.
So we're going to have a proposal and discussion concerning the Big Elk Creek Diversion Dam.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. Great to be with you guys again today. My name is James Taylor from Verdant. Here with me today is Gina Tom. And hope everyone had a great holiday season and Happy New Year to everyone. I wanted to just kind of give you guys an update. We were here back in October of 24 after completing the Big Elk Creek drainage assessment. And with Public Works, we've been working on a couple of things throughout, keeping up the normal permits that are done for like the raceway, for the dredging, for the water treatment plant, and then also conducting some meetings with MDE and the Army Corps related to the diversion dam, and wanted to just give you an update on that aspect of things, kind of walk through the history of the dam, and then just kind of talk through long-term or short-term, long-term, and then also potential funding opportunities for the long-term solutions, because we think that that's probably where you guys want to look at those things. So a little bit of the history. The diversion dam was installed in the 1990s time frame. It was modified in the early 2000s. Basically, what the diversion dam does, this is just north of the dam and the raceway, where there's a diversion around an island. And what the purpose of that dam was to allow normal base flow, so the normal flow of the creek comes down to supply the raceway, and then any of the larger storm events would bypass that and continue downstream. There's been a number of studies that have been done. Like I mentioned, the most recent one in September 2024 with the Big Elk Creek drainage assessment. But there's been a number of studies that have been done. As far as how things look, past and present, the most recent aerial we get is 2022, but you can see on the two slides how the creek was flowing. It's completely sedimented over at this point in time. And then when we were out there last year, you can see that there's been a lot of collection of debris. On the picture on the right hand side, you can let me see if I can move my cursor. This spot right here is actually the sheet metal pile for that diversion dam. As you can see, it has eroded away around the dam, and so normal flow is actually just completely bypassing the dam, which means that the amount of water that you want to get in the normal flow channel is not occurring currently. This is some other pictures of the area, just kind of showing the sedimentation that's occurred. On the picture on the right and on the left, the creek itself is on the far right. And so what's happening is all this sediment is depositing in this spot, which is causing the creek not to function the way that it is and continue to allow additional things to occur downstream. So these are some things that need to be maintained. So we looked at a couple different things with Public Works, and there's really two steps to this. The immediate need is really the maintenance of this area. So dredging upstream and downstream of that diversion dam, getting it back to functioning as it was designed to be back in the early 2000s. That would allow things to function correctly, and then would alleviate some of that accumulation of sediment. All of that requires permitting through MDE, through Army Corps, through the joint permit application. Cecil Soil would be a part of some of that for the dredging itself and the materials. But that's what that current proposal that was sent to Public Works for was for the permitting aspect of that. So basically allowing it to get back to the original design of that diversion dam. From there, there's also the second step, and that's what I had Gina here for, is kind of the long-term look at this area.
Right, so, like James said, sort of the immediate need is to clear out the sediment and get the diversion dam in that area functioning as intended. And then in the drainage study that we finished, a year plus ago, we made some sort of longer term recommendations. So, there potentially are some improvements that could be made to the channel to help keep it flowing and to prevent it from filling up with the sediment and debris to the extent that it is right now. So that would potentially be kind of changing the geometry of the channel so that it has a low flow channel, doing some stream restoration. So you're, kind of guiding where the flow in the channel's going. And then, in general, there's a lot of sediment, in the creek. There's the downstream end of a large watershed that's got agriculture and erosion. There's a lot of things happening that are sending sediment down. So really, capturing that sediment and kind of removing it on a regular basis versus just letting it kind of fill in the channel, block up the bridges, things like that. So as far as kind of capturing that sediment, restoring this diversion channel and then being able to regularly maintain it by regularly removing the sediment will help there. Then there's a couple areas where the bank is eroding, which then contributes to the amount of sediment in the stream. It's not all of it. There's a lot coming from upstream too, but doing some stabilization in kind of, localized areas where there's erosion will help reduce the amount of sediment in the stream and then also protect the bank. There's an area, kind of that lower yellow line you see on there. There's an area by some houses that is where the bank is eroding. Eventually those properties, would be, structures might be threatened if it continues to erode.
So the board knows the yellow line there, that's where the Hermitage House is. And to the next to that is my neighbors, and then on that kind of that green field at the very point of that yellow, and I will tell you, it's I'm worried about the garage over there at the Hermitage.
Yeah.
It's about ready to go in.
Oh, great.
Yeah, okay, so this is just a concept sketch of the improvements that we recommended in the previous study. So, again, removing the sediment from the channel, restoring that diversion dam, and then, some bank stabilization projects are in there. So all of that sort of combined together, we get a rough price tag of about $2.4 million. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's long term, right? That's not now.
That's not the immediate
Yeah.
project, right? Yeah, so again, here just summarizing, so, the main issues are this debris accumulation at the high flow channel, diversion, and the Main Street Bridge. I mean, if you're to take a look there, you'll see the creek is completely full of, sediment and debris. And then, again, some of the sediment downstream of the dam is blocking the fish passage that is there to allow, fish passage over the dam. And if it continues, it'll threaten the water, the water flow to the water treatment plant. So I think I pretty much went through those mitigation alternatives already. So we just did a little bit of looking of some grant funding opportunities that have potential here to fund these types of projects. So there is currently a National Fish and Wildlife Foundation grant that's open, applications due in April. And it's kind of got two different options for it. One is, for project implementation, so, actual construction projects, anything in the range of, 150 to 750,000. Then it's also got a, like a watershed planning and technical assistance, option as well, up to 150,000. I don't know, if you're interested in potentially doing some planning on a watershed scale, that would involve Cecil County and Chester County to think about the sources of sediment in the, that are coming in the creek and ways to reduce sediment kind of on a watershed scale, so that, these problems maybe won't continue to worsen. Some of these sediment problems can't be fixed in Elkton, right? The sediment's coming from upstream. So I do think that, there could be the potential to get grant funding to sort of fund some kind of, collaboration or, working group on sediment in the watershed. There are Clean Water Act, grants as well. So those, the grant cycle's not currently open. That will reopen in the summer with grants due in, I think, September in the fall. So that's another one to maybe keep an eye on. And then, there's some other, opportunities. Sometimes the Maryland, DNR has grant opportunities. There's a Climate Smart Communities Initiative grant, which, we did put an application in last year, was not selected, but, that program is currently accepting new grant applications. FEMA hazard mitigation grants are another good target. They're kind of currently on hold. Hopefully those will be offered again in the future. And then, congressional earmarks as well are another thing to think about as far as funding for the longer term, projects that need to get done.
Mm-hmm. So that's kind of just an overall update of kind of where things are at, with things right now. Again, we wanted to not just come in and say, hey, here's what we need now. Here's the long term of how things are, are going. But the immediate need realistically for the town, for your safety, for everything else is really getting that diversion dam cleaned up. And that's what the permitting for that proposal, is incorporated in there. So if there's any questions, we'd love to entertain any of those.
How long will it take?
For the permitting itself. So we already did the survey, of the area, so that normally takes a little bit more time. It's gonna take a few months. So as Dan can attest, these permits do take some time to go through their approvals. But I would anticipate that if we were to get started in the next week or so, we would be able to be out there probably in the summer, getting that dredged out.
And who would do those?
That would be put out the bid, I would think, correct, Dan?
We have to figure it out.
Or-
Yeah, we have to keep the bigger picture, it would be way more economic, so we're not sure.
Would it be easy, I'm not sure what the scope of work for the initial, cleaning the diversion dam. Will the permit allow us to go maybe an additional, 30 yards toward the falls? Because there's an area there, that has a debris pile that's probably as tall as, probably 12 foot tall, multiple trees in it. And, it probably wouldn't, if we're there under construction, we should probably knock that out at that point.
Yeah, so the, it's not gonna show up on there, but I'll go up to the screen. So our scope originally is really looking at this area here.
Yeah.
However, if we want to expand it along this at all,
About right where your finger was.
right around here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that's something, I mean, that shouldn't be too much. I mean, that's not much of an additional effort. It's really just making sure that's all included in that original permit.
I think it just needs to be pushed.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, realistically, I think I mentioned it, right? So what's happening is a couple things. Water wants to go where water wants to go, right? And right now, it seems like water wants to go this way because it keeps trying to get past that diversion dam without with it being in there, and it's eroded around it, so now it's trying to go that way versus coming this way, which is what the path was, at that point in time. And so, yeah, I mean, if we can wind this a little bit and get this area cleaned up, I think that, we believe that's gonna help. It probably hasn't been looked at for a long time, just we need to get it cleaned.
What was the amount for the permitting? And what was your projection on well, I don't have it up here in front of me. I apologize.
We were 53,000 for the permit. What was your second question?
And the second question, is there a budgeted amount to do that initial cleanup?
You're saying for the cost to actually do it, I don't believe we calculated that yet.
No, we just, our intention was first is to actually get the permit. After the permit gets in there, we see the field condition and see what makes
Yeah.
sense, because the permit is gonna take a couple months, when that happens, they may switch out a little bit, to figure what's the best, strategy.
Could our guys do it, Dan?
I don't know, I'm just gonna find out, that's exactly, my intention, if I can do it in-house here, we'll try it. We just have to go do the sediment, and that's something we need to look at, because this will be a series, the way we envision it, or a series of projects, like multi-year kind of deal, so, and keep the permit up first of all,
Yeah.
then we see what makes sense, of trying to figure out, what we're good at versus what we can do, and all that kind of thing.
Lou, do we need to, budget for this for next year, or can you go on 53,000?
Well, we already have it, like, the thing this year, we actually have it in 135, we actually do have it in the fiscal year 26.
Oh, you do have it?
Yeah.
Okay.
What do we have?
We have the money for the permitting.
Yeah, we put it under 135, yeah. So we just weren't sure to see what's going on with it, so that's why,
And then the other part of it is, until we do the comparison of surfaces to determine exactly how much soil and sediment is being removed, we don't have a way to know what the cost exactly is gonna be, because it could be, hey, we only need to skim it a foot, it could be a foot here, 3 feet there. I mean, there were some spots, close to where the dam is itself, where, we were a good 2-3 feet above the water in that area, because it just has completely, sedimented over. And then the goal with that, as kind of Dan mentioned, is once we have that permit, it'd be another one of those ongoing maintenance ones. There's a few others, the Raceway has an ongoing maintenance, permit, the Marina Park, canoe launch, boat launch has a ongoing permit for dredging that can be done.
Ongoing?
Yeah, so it basically permits you to go out a certain number of years, for that work.
Why don't we have one for Delaware Avenue?
I don't have the answer to that question.
Dan?
No. I thought, the way I look at it is, this affects our water supply, that's why it makes sense to do the permitting, like, for the money for this particular area at the diversion dam. We got the Raceway because it keeps the water coming in, and then we just maintain the little area, because there's not much going on right there, right where the canoe is. But for Delaware Avenue, there's expense for, it's gonna keep silting in, so at least in our opinion, these are the ones which affect us, which were more cost effective with respect to residential needs versus the cost, that kind of thing itself.
Not only that, but if we're able to get the stuff upstream, right, we're now allocating additional volume for it to deposit upstream, which should hopefully benefit downstream as well. What we don't want to do is start downstream and then, work our way out with cleaning. Long-term wise, it would, again, I think there's some things out there, and again, we talked about correct congressional earmarks, like realistically from the entire length of the town should be looked at. I mean, we looked at it, there should be a project that looks at the design and cleaning it up along the whole entire stretch, and that's where, you're talking about those larger funds, and I don't think anyone would say, hey, the town needs to pay for all of that, right? That just doesn't, it doesn't seem fair to me. I was mentioning on the way over, like, the fact that this is all on you guys to take care of, when really it's an upstream issue, and that's where we wanted to bring up that one, Fish and Wildlife grant for that, the planning, creating that either working group, coalition, whatever it might be, because realistically, until you get stuff on the buy-in from those that are upstream of you, the issue is just gonna keep presenting itself year after year, which means.
I have a question along this line.
Yes.
So, we all know that if you dredge a creek, eventually it's gonna silt back in.
Correct.
Have any studies been done on how quickly this silting happens? And how often you would need to re-dredge?
So what I can tell, and Louis might have more information on this, I believe this area was worked on around 2002 timeframe. That's when the diversion dam structure was modified, and there was cleaning and dredging that occurred at that point in time. So it's been 24 years, 23, 24 years, and this is the situation that we're in now. So it has been a long number of years. Now, the question is, if you do it in a shorter time frame and you maintain so each year, does it make the effort a lot easier long-term? Most likely.
Oh, most likely,
Yeah.
So it appears that we are overdue.
Yes.
For this. How long would you say overdue?
How long overdue?
It's hard to quantify, being that it's been modified, so.
Yeah,
It's hard.
Dreams down what they wanna do, so.
Yeah, I don't know if I mean, we could, yeah, I couldn't put a number on it. I mean, realistically, every 3 to 5 years, I mean, like Army Corps, when they're talking about a dredging of a marina, they're usually looking at 3 to 5 years of doing that dredging. That's kind of the time frame. And that's for like, you know, the boats are coming in, they're bringing all that sediment as they're like slowing down, and it's affecting that channel. So I would say probably every 3 to 5 years is really the sweet spot of maintenance. So if you look at it that case, you're probably close to 20 years overdue potentially. So yeah, I mean, I don't have a real good number on it, but
Yeah, I was just gonna say too that, you know, in addition to the sediment, there's a lot of like debris, like woody debris, you know, trees and things in the channel, and then that, you know, so those tend to probably wash down when you have a storm, right? And then, that slows the flow down, which then exacerbates the sediment. So, you know, sometimes it's a little dependent on what's going on, like storm-wise, you know, when things are settling out.
Listen, I think it'll be huge if we can get an ongoing permit, right?
Yeah.
And we'll be able to take care of that, and I know that Delaware Avenue would probably benefit from this because it's an island there too.
The sediment.
Mm-hmm.
Who does the bank restoration?
The bank restoration.
Like where it's eroding,
the long-term piece of it, so.
like the neighborhood.
Yeah, I mean, so that would be designed and then can be bid out, for a company to do.
I remember, years ago, and I guess it was probably in the 80s or 90s, that, the town had that big, unit that was on the rubber wheels, Lou, you remember that one?
That's way back.
And it would go in there, of course, there was no permitting process at
Right.
the time. But,
Right.
and they would go in there and they would, the town would swipe all that, sediment out on an ongoing basis. So if we have an ongoing,
Right.
maybe we can get one of those floating, Dan could do good with one of those things.
There you go.
What do you need from us?
I think just authorization to move forward, I think that's where we were at. I think Dan would just want to make sure that this is being brought to you guys, so you guys understood, you know, kind of the big picture, where we're at today, where we want to see this go long-term, but, you know, here's the things that we need right now.
Very good. And you're budgeted, right?
Yeah, we're budgeting exactly, because we knew this was coming to see what's what. That's why I went to do a long-term, you know, the long-term play. It's like golf. We're playing the long game. Right now, we just want to show you, you know, additionally, yes, we're
Any
doing
questions for
what's
the
what,
board?
so.
Stan? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Good seeing you.
Can I ask a question?
Mhm.
Yeah, Gene?
Once you obtain the permit for the dredging, how long is that permit good for? For the initial work?
Yeah, it's for years. I can't remember if it's 5 years or 7 years.
And would the project have to be completed by then?
You're saying the initial dredging?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the intent, Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, the intent is to get it done as soon as possible, correct? Yeah, so, I mean, the initial part would be there. We just got an updated permit for, we're in the process.
No, exactly.
For Raceway.
Yeah, the raceway,
Yeah.
the raceway is another
Yeah,
drawn out. That's easy.
but I believe it's 7 years, Gene.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got over $2 million project that has to be completed within 7 years.
No, so the permitting is just for the maintenance dredging at this point in time.
Oh,
And that's what we're doing right now, is just for the maintenance. The rest of it would be a long-term approach. And that's something where we can, if that's something the board wants to see, or the commissioners want to see, is we can work on getting that design permit or design, proposal, updated and pulled together for that, section of the Big Elk Creek from, the bridge north. And
so we did the plan before, the drainage study and plan
correct,
with
yep,
the options. We were funded for that study.
yep,
Um,
this is for the actual full design, yeah.
okay, and I believe we applied for design money for the first phase of that, which was the section you're talking about now.
Here.
Part of it, yes. So did we hear back on that one?
We were not granted that funding.
Right.
Okay.
So is the plan then to reapply for funding for that design work for the first phase, the section that you're talking about now?
Yeah, I think, well, so again, what was submitted for the grant for funding was for the, like, stream bank restoration that, Commissioner Vermel was talking about. The dredging was separate from, the maintenance dredging was separate for that. I would say, yeah, it wouldn't hurt to keep getting that, submitting that around to get funding for it. I mean, again, that, if you guys can get funding for it, that's what's important, right?
Yeah.
The design itself is gonna cost quite a bit of money.
Correct, yeah.
I was gonna ask you about all these grants that you mentioned.
Mhm.
So is that on us? Is that something you do? How do we proceed with those?
We do.
We're happy to
compliance
assist, yeah.
with,
I've worked with Gina, and Gina's submitted
Okay.
grants and that sort of thing, so we have worked together on previous grants. We just weren't as successful with the design for the phase 1, which is the section they're talking about now.
Okay. Well, now that you have the green light to proceed, I think we should attack every grant that's
Yep,
out there.
Thank you, Gene.
Thanks.
thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, up next, we have, New Gen Strategies and Solutions, a proposal for a water and sewer rate study. Tyler, you wanna make a comment or?
With the, identified, water capacity and wastewater capacity issues that we've heard about over the last few parent commissioner meetings, we thought it was prudent to potentially take a look at the utility rates going forward, as a way, to determine ultimately how we're gonna finance addressing the identified capacity issues. So Michael, Maker's here from New Gen Strategy. New Gen has done some work for the town before, on other water projects, water utility projects. So, he's gonna talk a little bit about their, timeline, their methodology, things like that.
Perfect.
I do have a presentation. I don't know if you want me to, load on there, just kind of talk through it, or?
Yeah.
you can
I have a thumb drive one.
look on this, template here.
No.
You can run it from here, if that's.
Okay.
Can move for you.
Yeah. You have bosses.
Right.
Will this work? I can
May. See if there's. I have another USB, or it might be in there already. Yeah, it's this, but I don't think I have another.
I can, hold on, I can load this onto the desktop.
So, let's go backwards for.
Well, let's, you know.
Where's yours?
Thank you, Tyler. Again, Mike Maker, I'm a partner with Elkton. We're in our Annapolis office, so about an hour and a half away. Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. Eric Koloke has worked for the town before. He's a fellow partner in our office who was unable to be here today, so I'm subbing in. I would serve as QATC kind of technical advisor on the study. I just have a handful of slides here and then stop me if you have questions along the way. So just gonna go over the firm introduction, who NewGen is, some of the key Elkton issues you're dealing with recently, just what the study process looks like for a rate study for those who aren't familiar, and then just project timeline. So NewGen, we are a financial management firm, so we're not engineering firms. We team with engineers, but we don't do any of that ourselves. We do the financial management aspects. 80% of what we do is really for utility work, so rate studies, cost of service, impact fees, things like that. We have an energy practice, we have an environmental practice, which is water, wastewater, stormwater, and then we have a solid waste practice. In Annapolis, we mainly focus on the water, wastewater, stormwater, and solid waste. You may have known the firm, so the Annapolis office used to be Municipal and Financial Services Group. So I think we work for Elkton, we work for the county. As you'll see, we work for many localities in Maryland. Nationwide, we have 13 offices, 70 employees. And one of the things we pride ourselves with is donating to various charity organizations. And so far, we've donated over $1 million since 2015. Predominantly working right now in the Maryland, Virginia region. I've done a lot of work there. We also work across the country. Eric's actually in California right now, so I don't envy him on that travel, especially having little kids right now. So going forward, so some of the key Elkton issues as I understand them. So I know you have 3 sources of flow. You have some groundwater, you have some surface water, and then you have some purchasing of water from artesian. And it looks like they've had some pretty hefty increases over the past couple of years. You looked at a 7.5% increase, and then now a 13.1 increase from artesian for your wholesale water purchase. I know you have a new interconnection on Route 40 as well. KCI did a capacity study and they identified several alternatives for expanding capacity. So there's some planning for water immediately and then planning for wastewater in about 4 years. And then like many other utilities, you're dealing with some PFAS issues, and I know in well number 3, so there'll obviously be some capital costs and then increased operating costs as a result of that. Just an overview of the rate study process. So we start with what we call the revenue requirements. That's just a fancy term for the revenue required to be collected from customers. That's the cost of the system. So everything in blue here, your operating maintenance expenses, any existing debt service, so it's any principal and interest payments you're currently having to pay. I'll look at your capital improvement plan, and we'll have funding source options for there. So we're gonna get it from rates, get it from reserves. If you're planning on debt funding, we will then calculate that future debt service and those principal and interest payments, add all that up. That's the revenue requirement we need to collect. We'll then look at your customer base. So we'll look at your customers and the usage they generate and the wastewater generated, depending on customer classes, so residential, commercial, depending on how you allocate those. And at the end of the day, it's really the cost divided by the units is what gives us the rates. So that's when we come up with our financial plan. The model will go out 10 years, so you'll get an Excel financial model. And so that's the property of the town. We'll probably recommend, rates up to 5 years, but at least you'll have the 10-year picture to know, hey, our project's not falling off a cliff and what we have to do to smooth things out in the future. So at the end of the day, we'll have the final rates, fees, and charges. And then those are just a snapshot of the kind of industry standard manuals. So an AWWA, American Water Association, the industry standard, the M1 manual there, and then WEF, which is Water Environment Federation handles wastewater, is that standards of practice number 27. This is kind of a snapshot of what the model may look like. This is a dashboard from that model. So that flow I showed before kind of showed what the schedules will look like. You'll have separate schedules for operating maintenance expenses, debt service, capital, so on and so forth. And then there'll be an overboard, dashboard. We'll have some graphical outputs, as well as where we can look at smoothing those rate increases. So we're not, jacking about 20% and dropping them, kind of smooth it out to make a financial plan. So it's entirely dynamic. So you have an input assumption sheet, you type in numbers there, and it flows forward. We would want to train, 1 or 2 of your staff on how to work with the model so they can update it in the future. And then you can obviously call us if you have any questions, things like that. So, one of the important things will be is the customer bill impacts. We always say it doesn't really matter what your rates are going to be, customers care what their bill is going to look like. So if you look at alternative rate designs, and you don't just maintain the current rate structure, different customers will be affected differently. So it'll be important to see how does that impact typical, residential customer, medium residential, a small customer, a large customer, maybe your top 20 commercial customers, top 50 commercial customers. So it's important to look at that. The study timeline. So this is assuming I get the go-ahead and start in February, start with a kickoff. We'd issue a data request, so kind of the typical things we would want. We set up some sort of data site for sharing of data, then looking at developing the model. March, having several staff meetings along the way, and then looking at a draft report, it looks like in May, and then presentations of the income commissioners. With that, questions?
No, I'm looking here at so the proposal is not to exceed 49,570, is that?
If you're looking at it, that sounds correct.
And, where do we have this budgeted for? Give me an idea where we're gonna find the money at. Tyler, we got it? We're good?
Yeah, we don't have it specifically funded in the budget, but this would be a proprietary fund
Okay.
expenditure, so I don't see problem funding it.
Well, I think we need to know where we're at as far as, the study, of course, and, I know the last 12 years, we've kind of guessed where we need to be, and we survived. But I think going forward, when you see our interconnect with like Artesian, for example, they're gonna hit us up with another 6 or 7%, in the upcoming months. And the rest of the whole county is at least at Artesian's numbers. I think that we need to develop some type of, have some evidence on where we need to be at, right? I think that's what we're looking at. We need to have some evidence. The board feel okay with moving forward with the study?
Absolutely.
All right, we have a motion to move forward with, New Gen's, grand use proposal.
Second.
A motion and a second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Let's get this baby rolling.
All right, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, Lou, you're on.
Mine is relatively simple. I have a resolution that authorizes the board authorizes the loan from the Fulton Bank in the amount of $269,526, at an interest rate of 4.98 for a term of 60 months, so we can buy 3 vehicles for the Department of Public Works. Those vehicles, total of those 3 vehicles is at 269,526. Dan can probably elaborate on the vehicles, but we need to have this money authorized in order to proceed with the purchase of those 3 vehicles. And it's spread over 5 years versus all one time. So we'll only have to come up with about 160,000-170,000 a month, a year. I think it's 5,062.79 per month.
Yeah, we've been, I think the board knows, we've been kind of paying for cash for all of our vehicles the last X amount of years, and And this year, the budget was a little on the tighter side, so we went out and got financing to pay for those budgeted vehicles. So this is a resolution, to allow, us to move forward with the financing of those vehicles. We have a motion to accept resolution R1 2026, vehicle and equipment financing loan.
So moved.
Got a motion?
Second.
And a second. Any discussion on the financing, in the terms, or? Dan, you have, what, 3 vehicles? Can you tell us what these were?
Same ones, in the fiscal year, I don't have them on the top of my head, sorry about that one, but the same ones, I can send it to the board. It's a 1-for-1, I think one's a mechanic's truck, one's done the concrete crew, 1-for-1, I can't remember the third one off the top of my head, so. They're 1-for-1, so.
But they were approved in the budget.
Yes, they were approved, yes, exact same did.
So what will happen to the, original vehicles? We'll put them out?
Yeah, exactly, we'll go to receive our list and sell them auction, and anything left over will go to the general fund. Yes, Commissioner.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. The ayes have it. Thank you. Lou, that it?
Yeah, that's it,
All right.
all right.
All right, so, I've got a reappointment, to the Elkton Board of Supervisors with the election. We have an election coming up in May, and we need to get the, election Board of Supervisors in place. So I'd like to reappoint, the following members from March 1st, 2026 through February 29th, 2028. I'll just do them all together. They have all agreed to serve again. I'd like to nominate Paula Newton, Marjorie Blystone, Sarah Guns, David Massimiano, Anne Marie Hamilton, Karen Smith, and Kingsley Schaefer. Do we have a motion to approve these reappointments?
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion on these reappointments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. All right. I'd asked, for the last, month or so, I had kind of an idea of maybe taking the outside seating that we have in downtown and, see if we could take it off the street and maybe, from, in the future, maybe from December 1st through, the week before St. Patrick's Day, we would have it off the street, clean it up, and place it back on the street prior to that, because it's, been a winter having the outdoor seating. We've had a little bit of a hiccup with that. Spoke to Dan yesterday, and he went out and took a look at it, him and his team. And, some of the, it's well put together, let's put it that way.
Oh, yeah.
They did a nice job putting it together, and it, at this point, I think it'd be very difficult for us to, take it apart and clean it up and have it back by St. Patrick's, weekend. So I think I'm gonna put a little pressure on the owners of the establishment to maybe, doctor it up a little bit, and clean up.
What do you mean clean up?
There's some, well, I'm gonna ask Dan to, repair a couple of the pieces that are broken, but,
Okay.
when you have seating there for a period of time, you have rain and you have, cigarette butts, you got a lot of stuff that's underneath of the decking. So my thoughts were, at some point, it'd be nice to be able to figure out a way that we could, I don't know, maybe get a tow truck in there and slide it up on a dump truck or a tow body, and then where you can clean the street. We've got, just looking at the holiday season, no one's using the seating, and it would create a little extra parking for the music hall. It would also, any snow, not that we had any snow yet, but it would certainly make it easier to maneuver, around. But it looks like, that's not gonna work anyhow, but I wanted to bring it up. Dan, could you take a look at I guess it would be the northeast side of the Central Tavern, section, a car backed up into it and broke that one section. Doesn't have to be done anytime, but hopefully by our springtime, that we could figure out what we could do to make that look better. I'm sure we can figure out maybe a piece of aluminum or won't get damaged anymore.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Or if they did take down their outdoor seating and all the decking and everything for the winter, where would that be stored?
Well, I almost believe that their decking belongs to them. And we didn't have, that was the other little hiccup we had. We really didn't have the area to put.
You look, it's big. It's big
Pretty
and
big.
it's massive. It's big and it's massive. It's one, right, big unit, so.
Saying that, it's gonna be there, you can't remove it. Why don't we get a couple of those posts like they do at the stores for parking, so that you can't run into the building? Put two on each corner of the seating, where nobody can back into it again.
You can't, you'll just get more damage to your car, that's all.
Yeah, it's exactly, yeah, don't want to put a bottle like on the street, because it gets kind of, yeah, if that's the case, you just want them to pull it as best you can. Take a look at that, see if we can repair it, we'll take a look at this thing, let's see.
Well, listen, it's been successful. People enjoy the seating out there and,
What, 5 years or 4 or 5
yeah,
years, so.
it's great. And we've survived, with the less parking spots, so I think it's all good. Gene, you have anything?
Just a couple. I wanted to touch base on, we're talking about the increasing rates from Artesian. And, are we also increasing our sale prices with them? I mean, we do sell water to them also in certain areas. Have we ever revisited those rates?
Not to my knowledge, no.
I'm just wondering why we're not, you know.
Yeah, I think what they
Do
will,
we have an agreement that where that's set, or?
no, I think the agreement is that we can charge them 50. It's tough to talk without one tooth.
That's right.
I think, anything that they wheel through our system, I think it's an increase their rate plus 15%,
20%.
20%.
What is it now?
Transmission and sale, whatever the rate, Artesian rate is based on the authority. And their transmission, 20% added to that. So when we sell them water, like at Bell Hill, we do the same thing, their rate plus 20%. We hit them with the same thing. But they sell us a lot more water than.
Well, I know that, I just wasn't sure if it was, you know, working both ways.
Yeah. The good thing about that is that, it doesn't contain any PFAS or anything or turbidity issues. It's all really clear groundwater.
Yes.
Okay,
Does that answer it or no?
I think.
No. So let's just make sure that we're billing Artesian at their rate plus the 20%.
I mean, yeah, make sure that we're keeping up with their increases.
Mhm.
Just a couple little things, right out front here, Dan, where the handicap spot is, there needs some salt. If somebody gets out of their car, I think they're gonna slip. Hunter and Maryland Avenue, you had painted a yellow line on, the west side of the street, but I think we definitely need the same thing on the east side of the street. There are dump trucks and pickup trucks parking on the sidewalk too, habitually.
That's why we paint on the yellow line, that's why.
I know, but now they're on the other side, and what you can't do is you cannot leave Hunter and see what's coming down Maryland Avenue. They need to be back from that, corner. If they're gonna park, they're gonna have to park further down the street. And if we could just, I know the snow's coming and all, but if we can keep an eye, this is habitual parking on sidewalks with these trucks. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Gene. Charles?
Do we still have a, officer for the parking meters?
Yes,
You do? And that's been busy and ongoing?
yeah, it's part-time, We've actually had two doing it, but it's part-time. The one is also, does the crossing guard for us, and while she's in the guard, she hurt her ankle, so she's been out. So it's been limited hours, but we are still enforcing parking downtown.
And also, while I got you talking, you know, you look on TV, you look on the media, it talks about juveniles, young people of their own generation, which is now, how they don't do anything. There is an increase in crime. What effect has that been, or is there any in this local area which we live? Have the crime rates for them going up? Do you see an increase or status quo?
There has been an increase since the juvenile laws went into effect. It seems to be sort of leveling out now, but there definitely was a spike after that. And a lot of that dealt with stolen motor vehicles, where we were seeing more and more kids involved in that crime in particular. But we also see it and know about it happening in some of the more violent crimes, where the adults are actually teaching them and trying to get the kids to do it because they know the kids aren't going to get in as much trouble. So that's happened a little bit. We do know of that happening locally. Some of the thefts, again, we catch them a lot with the adults. But it does seem to be sort of leveling out from what we were experiencing, a huge spike initially.
And so with your resource officers at the middle school and the high school, do they report to you, or do they give you a synopsis of what is happening or what their job actually entails?
Yes, they do report. They're reporting to, it had been to Lieutenant Cooper. Now I'm going to have them be reporting to Captain Fuller. And then we've been using, also Wilmot's one of those, and we've been using him a lot to backfill on patrol. He's been really helpful with that, because we've had some people out on injury and different FMLA and different reasons, so he's been backfilling a lot in there. But yeah, they're extremely busy in the schools. Thank God we got that grant through the Maryland State Schools. We're able to use them in other, like, for the events at the schools as well, to try and offset some of that cost to the town.
I know a lot of times they offer a good presence when they have a basketball game up there, because, you know, they've had a great year and the place fills up with people, but it's always good to see the sight of an officer. It just takes away the thought of crime from the very get-go. Dan, for the vehicles or the fleet of vehicles, when do your mechanics start to work on vehicles? Because I see a lot of checks and I see a lot of vehicles go to the different agencies around here to be fixed on. So what do your men do as mechanics?
If it's under warranty, depends on the complexity of it, depends on under warranty. A lot of times if it's under warranty, like, they'll go right to the Ford dealership because it's covered the same way. My guys my mechanics fix an awful lot of stuff in between. I mean, they keep the fleet basically running. That's how they operate the same way. But every now and then, if it gets too complicated, they'll ship it out. Depends on a case-by-case situation. For the most part, I'd say we at least keep 80-90% in-house. This is my mechanics fix them that way, approximately 80-90%.
If it's warranty, why are you seeing the bill?
Some it's warranty, some it's complexity, it's a little bit of everything. Some of that might be parts, because the labor could be covered, might be the part, which is not sure, to be honest with you. It's a case by case. I can get word from the mechanics and get back with the board. I can give you a detail after talk with them, so.
And actually, I define the uniqueness of signing those checks more so than actually the list we get, because you sign it X amount of dollars and you look and see what that's for, so you come up with questions.
Sure, that's no problem.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
yeah.
Thank you, Charles. Earl? Rob? All right, this is time we open up the floor for anyone from the audience that has anything to say for the good of the town or bad of the town. Yes, ma'am. State your name.
Alicia Calvin with the Elkton Alliance. Just a couple of things, information for the board. January is the time that we do redesignation for the National Main Street Organization, which of course affects our funding, and we do or do not get it. So we're in the process of that accreditation, as well as state reporting for impact from the work that the Alliance does for downtown Elkton. So we're going with that. We also are reporting on all of the Project Restore and Facade grants which of course have helped the businesses and building owners downtown. So January is that time of frame for us. From an event standpoint, we have 2 events coming up in February. First Friday is our annual soup contest, where we invite merchants to make soup, to encourage people to come into their businesses. We are doing sign-ups and registration for that currently. Of course, it's a complimentary event for the residents to attend. And then we're doing a brand new event on February 13th, which is Cupids and Carriages, where we'll do carriage rides through the town of Elkton, complimentary, where we're welcoming the community to come out and again, frequent downtown and patronize the businesses.
Thank you, Alicia. Anyone else? Anyone on the Zoom meeting today that has anything to say? Meeting adjourned.